everyone. This is Professor Jeff Wilkerson at Luther College, bringing you once again what to look for in the night sky, this time for the week of May 31, 2021, so really mostly the first week of June. We got one day of May since we started counting these things on Monday. Why do we count these things starting on Monday? Don't really know, except I think the very first one of these that I shot, I wanted Monday to be the start day to look at something that was progressing through that week, starting on Monday. Who knows? Anyway, I sort of stewed about what to talk about this week. I had various things in mind, and I looked at them and I thought, well, that's not interesting, and that's not interesting. And I thought, well, anything I do is interesting, so you're going to love this. We're going to continue focusing on Leo that we looked at last week. So if you haven't looked at the last 2 weeks of videos, but particularly last week's video where we looked at the stars of Leo in a little bit more detail, go back and watch that and make sure you can practice identifying the stars in Leo. And this week we're going to look really closely at the triangle that is the tail of Leo and talk about those stars a little bit more. And so we have 3 stars there. We've looked at Denebola several times in these videos. It's become the star. There's a little pun for you. It's become the star of our video series for this spring. It's the tip of the tail of Leo, the tip of the triangle in Leo is Denebola, and it's a 2.1 magnitude star. So we're going to use this opportunity to talk about the magnitude system a little bit. That's how we measure the brightnesses of stars. It's the system that counts backward so that lower numbers are brighter, and it's a logarithmic system, so it's a multiplicative system. One step is a factor of 2.5 in apparent brightness. So a second magnitude star is 2.5 times brighter to you than a third magnitude star, which is 2.5 times brighter to you than a fourth magnitude star. So of these 3 stars that make up the tail of Leo, Denebola is the brightest. This star, which we've not named before, we've not talked about, sometimes you'll hear different names for these stars, but sometimes you'll hear this called Zosma, is 2.6 magnitude, so about half a magnitude fainter than Denebola. And Chertan is this star down here is the faintest of the 3 stars in the triangle. All still good and really, really pretty bright to you. On a good dark night, you shouldn't have any trouble seeing 5th magnitude stars or even 6th magnitude stars maybe. So you know, of a 3rd magnitude star, you should be able to see on most nights, even with a little bit of moon interference and even with a little bit of haze in the sky, a little bit of water vapor in the sky, for example, moisture. So you've got Zosma at 2.6, Chertan at 3.3. So that's the order of the brightnesses of the stars. I went ahead and put Iota Leonis. Remember last week we talked about the Greek lettering system for some of these stars, naming them. I don't know a more common name for this star. I wouldn't be surprised if it has one, but I've never run across it. And so this is a 4th magnitude star. I guess I didn't write it on the board, but this is a 4.00 magnitude star. So it gets even fainter out this way. So this triangle really does pop relative to the other stars, but this isn't that much fainter than the stars of the triangle. On any kind of decent night, you should be able to see this 4th magnitude Iota Leonis. So go out, find these. These are separated. I put the angular separations on there. Remember, you hold your fist out at arm's length, and that's about 10 degrees on the sky. We talked about this last week, so you got about 10 degrees as your fist width. So that's about the separation from Denebola to Zosma. It's about half that separation down to Chertan, and about half that separation also over to Iota Leonis once you go down this direction. So you continue the track down this way. So there we are. We're identifying these stars a little bit more. We're paying a little more attention to those stars, making sure we really understand the stars in the tail of Leo. But we're going to use them to find a couple of really nice galaxies. And so if you have binoculars, you can probably, got good dark skies in binoculars, you can probably see M65 and M66, these galaxies, in your binoculars. If they have, I'm going to say you want lens diameters of about 50 millimeters or bigger. So a good 7 by 50, 10 by 50 binocular would probably show you this. If you got a 60 millimeter diameter ocular on your binoculars, then you're in really good shape. You should be able to see this, a 70 or an 80 even if you've got a big old pair of binoculars. If you have a small telescope, this is a good thing to practice trying to find something in your small telescope. This is the way we used to do it before these modern computerized scopes that have go-to features where you just plug in the object that you want and it just slews right to it. I'm lazy, that's what I use on the rooftop up here, rather than hopping my way to these things from stars. But this is a group that I used to go out and look for all the time before I had that capability in my telescopes, and would be able to find M65 and M66. Very beautiful, big galaxies in this region. There's a third that's very close to them there, an NGC 3624, I'm going to say, but maybe I'm misremembering that. There's a third galaxy you can see in there. If you go to our website, Astronomy at Luther College, just Google it, you'll find it. On the front page, there's a series of images you can scroll through. The very first image says galaxies in Leo. These they are. These are the galaxies we're talking about in Leo. All three of them in there. They're all three in the same field of view. So if you find these in your small telescope, you'll see all three of them here. The NGC galaxy is probably too faint for you to see at the eyepiece, but you should be able to see M65 and M66. And they're among the easiest to find without go-to capability. Why? Because if you follow this line from Zosma to Chertan on down to Iota Leonis, they're about halfway between. M65 is sitting right on that line that connects Chertan to Iota Leonis, and it's almost halfway. It's almost right smack in the middle between these two stars. So if you just start taking your telescope and scrolling, or your binoculars, and scrolling from Chertan down to Iota Leonis, you're going to bump across it. You want to do it very slowly because the surface brightness of the galaxy, these galaxies are great. They're all three spiral galaxies in there. And spiral galaxies like the Milky Way, they have a central bulge and a flat disk. And they're tipped up a little bit, so we see that flat disk pointing toward us just a little bit. So they're kind of big on the sky, but their surface brightness is low. So that means there's a lot of light there, but the light's spread out over a relatively large area, so they can blend into the background relatively easily. And if you're scanning with your scope from Chertan down to Iota this way, you're going too quickly, you'll just blow right by it and not even notice it was there. So you want to take your time and ease your way down this direction and really poke around when you're about halfway there. And you should see both M65 and M66 in the same field of view, whether you're using binoculars or a small telescope. And they're pretty impressive objects. They're great things to look at, to remember that these are full-size galaxies. You know, we're talking about hundreds of billions of stars there. A lot of stars, and relatively close as galaxies go, but not close in terms of space you're accustomed to dealing with. And so they look like little smudges of light on the sky. But great things to look at. So go out this week, familiarize yourself with these three stars on the tail of Leo a little bit more, and then use those to see if you can find M65 and M66. I hope you do. I hope you have a chance to see that. I hope you have clear skies and the ability to go out and look for it. The moon, early in the week, there'll still be a fair amount of moon in the region, but the moon is moving pretty far past this part of the sky. This is up when it's dark. You can go out right after dark and start looking for this. And so if you get there before the moon rises, you're in good shape. And even after the moon rises, by midweek, it's good and gone for you. You don't have to worry about that so much. So go out, look for this, see if you can identify these three stars a little bit better. Find M65, M66, full-size spiral galaxies. And let me know if you did. I'd love to hear from you. Go out and look at the picture on the website of this. There's a Galaxies tab on the website where you can look at pictures of more galaxies, and you can see the pictures of this a little bit better than you do on the front page of the web page. So that's what we got for you this week. The tail of Leo, spiral galaxies M65 and M66. Great targets for you to look for in binoculars and a telescope, particularly a telescope. Good observing, everybody. Hope you have a good week. We'll have something new for you next week.